The Bible says there's two conditions for salvation. Romans 10:9, faith and confessing with thy mouth, that if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. How do we know within the English, watch my Believe On study, text that Romans 10:9 is vocal or not? Is the mouth described a physical mouth? There is a scriptural, like Matthew 9:21, for she said within herself, if I may but touch his garment, I shall be whole. We can know it's a vocal mouth. Romans 9 has two conditions, faith in the gospel and the mouth. Paul in Romans 3:22 talks about the faith condition of Romans 10:9. Even the righteousness of God, which is by faith of Jesus Christ upon all, and upon all them that believe, for there is no difference. Romans 10:12. For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek. The same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him. Paul lists the second condition, calling upon God with your mouth. There are only two passages in the entire King James Bible that say there is no difference. There is no other verse in Paul's writing or the Testaments that use that phrase. And both of those, Romans 3:22 and Romans 10:12, both end in two. Both verses reference the two conditions of Romans 10:9 for salvation, faith in the gospel and calling upon God with the mouth. Paul even specifies in 2 Timothy 2:22 that this calling is vocal. Flee also youthful lusts, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, and peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. Notice that terminology, something coming out of your heart. That's a direct reference to Matthew, where Christ uses the same terminology. Matthew 12:34, O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. Christ uses the terminology of the mouth speaking, coming out of the heart. Paul uses the terminology of calling upon God, which is vocal speaking, coming out of the heart. No other way around it. Calling is vocal, else to reject what Christ said. So we know this calling is vocal for two reasons. First, the Bible already says there's a faith internal part, and Paul specifies that this is different from the vocal mouth part. And we know this because the Bible repeats this in Romans 3:22. Because the Bible states two conditions, internal faith, such as the faith in the resurrection in Romans 10:9, or Romans 3:22, the faith described there, which is the same condition, and finally confession, which is the second condition described in Romans 10:12 and also Romans 10:9. And the second reason we know it's vocal is because when Paul talks about calling upon the Lord in 2 Timothy 22, he uses the same terminology the Lord Jesus Christ did when the Lord was talking about speech coming out of a person's heart. So we know, because he used the same terminology as the Lord Jesus Christ, that he means a vocal confession. So that is how we know Romans 10:9 is vocal.